finally, we're going to talk about finding surface area and volume of pyramids. So we're going to look at square pyramids, triangular pyramids, and hexagonal pyramids. And all of these for us are going to be regular, aka all the sides are equal of my base. So as a reminder, we use the letter L to represent my slant height. Which is going to be an important part of all of my formulas. We usually do cursive L. So we're going to focus on surface area and volume. So surface area is 1/2 perimeter times slant height plus base, area of the base. Volume equals 1/3 area of the base times height. So my slant height is in the same spot on all of these. So I'm going to go through and label that on each of my diagrams. Then we have our side lengths. We'll call that S. And we have our height. In the bottom two, we also have our apothem. So going from for our hexagon and for our equilateral triangle. Alright, and as a reminder, when we're dealing with a hexagon, that makes it so I have a 60-degree angle adjacent to the side, and in a equilateral triangle, that is a 30-degree angle that is opposite your apothem. And for both the equilateral triangle and the hexagon, for our area of the base, we're using the formula 1/2 perimeter times apothem. Or you could write it as perimeter times apothem over 2. So looking at this first problem, it wants us to find surface area and volume. So like always, I like to write my formula. So surface area equals 1/2 perimeter times slant height plus area of the base. And volume is going to be 1/3 area of the base times height. So from my picture, I have that my height is going to be 8. So H is 8. And my side length is 12. So what are some things that we could find? Well, we could find perimeter to start. My perimeter is 12 times 4 since it's a square. So my perimeter is 48. Then I could find my slant height. For the square, if the whole side is 12, then that means this part going to the center of the square is going to be half of 12, which is 6. So I could find my slant height by doing Pythagorean theorem. 8 squared plus 6 squared equals L squared. So then we're going to get 100 equals L squared. So L equals 10. And the last thing I need for these is the area of my base. My base is a square. So my area of a square is going to be 12 times 12, which would be 144. So now I have all of my parameters that I can substitute into my two formulas. So surface area equals 1/2 perimeter was 48, slant height was 10, and the area of my base was 144. And when I combine that, I get that my perimeter is 384. My surface area is 384. All right. So for volume, it's 1/3. Area of my base was 144 times my height was 8, which also in this problem ends up being the same thing, 384. On the right, we have another diagram, and we're finding the same information. So first step is write down our formula. Surface area is 1/2 perimeter times slant height plus area of the base. Volume equals 1/3 area of the base times height. This time it's giving you the slant height, which is L. So L is 10. We have a square again, so if I have a side of 16, I have 4 of those, so 16 times 4 gives me a perimeter of 64. My area of my base is 16 times 16, 16 squared, which would be 256. And now I need to find, for my formulas, I also need my height. So for my height, we're going to look at this triangle right here. And pay attention that my right angle is on the inside. So my hypotenuse is 10. And I know that the bottom side is going to be 8 because the whole side is 16 and half of that would be 8. In other words, here's my right triangle, even though it looks kind of funky. So h squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared. So h squared equals 36, which means h equals 6. And now I have all of the values that I need for my formulas. Surface area equals 1/2. Perimeter was 64. Slant height was 10. And area of my base was 256. I multiply all of that together, and I get 576. Volume is 1/3. Area of the base was 256 times my height is 6. So my volume is 512. So that was doing a square. Now we're going to look at an equilateral triangle. So starting with the same formulas, it's just how I get to filling those in that's different. 1/2 perimeter times slant height plus base. Volume is 1/3 area of base times height. Okay. So perimeter, it's 3 sides, and each side is 24 square root 3. So my perimeter is 72 square root 3. It also gives me that my slant height is 20. So the other thing I need is the area of my base as well as the height. So let's start with area of the base. Area of my base is going to be 1/2 perimeter, which we already found is 72 square root 3, times the apothem. So to find the apothem, whole side is 24 square root 3. So small side is, or cut it in half, is 12 square root 3. Here I have my right triangle. And we are opposite currently the 60-degree angle. So that means my apothem is going to be 12. So area of my base ends up being pretty big, 432 square root of 3. And the last thing I need to do is find my height, now that I know what that is right there. So I'm going to draw my right triangle kind of out of the pyramid. So we have a slant height of 20. We just found that bottom piece is 12, and so we can do Pythagorean theorem to find our height. H squared plus 12 squared equals 20 squared. So H squared is going to equal 256. So my height is 16. And plug and chug into my formula. Okay, surface area is 1/2. Perimeter of 72 square root 3. Slant height of 20 plus area of the base 432 root 3. And we have a whole bunch of stuff to simplify. And we get 720 square root 3 plus 432 square root 3. So my overall surface area is 1,152 root 3. Whew, that's pretty big. All right, and volume is 1/3 area of my base, which is 432 root 3, times my height of 16. And that will simplify to 2,304 root 3. Same idea for the next one. So if my side length is 42 root 3, that means my perimeter is that times 3, which would be 126 square root 3. This time it gives me that my height is 28, which means I'm going to need to find my slant height, and I also am going to have to find the area of my base. Area of my base is 1/2 perimeter, which we just found is 126 square root 3, times my apothem. So to find my apothem, we take the side and split it in half, so that would be 21 square root 3, which now means the blue part I just drew is going to be 21. So my apothem is 21. So if I simplify that for my area of my base is going to be 1,323 square root 3. And now I have enough information to find my slant height. So here's my right triangle. This time I know my height, and we just found that that base is 21. So yay, it's a Pythagorean triple. 21 squared plus 28 squared equals L squared. So L squared equals 1,225. So L equals 35. And now I have all of my little pieces to plug in my formulas. Surface area is 1/2 perimeter times slant height plus area of the base. Volume equals 1/3 area of the base times height. So surface area is 1/2 perimeter is 126 root 3. Slant height we just found is 35 plus area of the base was 1,323 root 3, and I'm going to move my volume because that's not going to be enough room. So surface area is 2205 root 3 plus 1323 root 3, and that gives me 3,528 square root of 3 for my surface area. Hope you wrote tiny on this. Okay, let's change to a different color. Last we have volume. So volume equals 1/3. Area of my base was 1323. Root 3 times height of 28. And that is going to simplify to 12,348 square root of 3. Will I probably give you this big of numbers on a test? Probably not. All right. Last one, our favorite, hexagons. Same old, same old. So if I have a hexagon as my base and it has a side length of 6, then my perimeter is 6 times 6, which would be 36. They also give me my slant height is 14. So let us find our area of my base. So area of my base is 1/2 perimeter, which we just found is 36, times my apothem. To find your apothem, I'm going to actually draw it on this bottom part because it's just visually easier for me. So that's going to be 3, and then that means my apothem will be that times square root of 3, so 3 square root 3. So area of my base is going to be 54 root 3. And now that I have the bottom part of my right triangle, I can find my height. So I have 14. I have 3 root 3. And I need my regular height. So height squared plus 3 square root of 3 squared equals 14 squared. And we can use a calculator. So I'm just going to tell you once we do that on the calculator that we're going to get h squared equals 169. So h is 13. So formula, surface area equals 1/2 perimeter times slant height plus area of the base. So surface area equals 1/2. The perimeter of my base is 36. Slant height is 14. Plus area of my base was 54 square root 3. So surface area is going to be 252 plus 54 square root of 3. And then volume is 1/3 area of my base, which is 54 square root 3, times my height, which was 13. And that gives me 234 square root of 3. So 252 plus 54 square root 3 and 234 square root 3. Last one. Okie dokie, we can do it. So perimeter, it's a hexagon, so we're going to do the side, which is 8 times 6. So perimeter is 48. They already gave me that my height is 11. So my next step is going to be to find the area of the bottom and also in that find my apothem. So area of base is 1/2. Perimeter is 48 times my apothem. Once again, I'm going to draw my diagram kind of on the bottom of this hexagon. So 1/2 of 8 is 4, which then means my apothem, you knew it had to happen at some point, is 4 square root of 3. So the area of my base is 96 square root of 3. I'll know who actually listened to this by who makes a comment on this next class. Okay. And so now I know my apothem is 4 square root 3. We need our slant height, and my regular height is 11. So 11 squared plus 4 square root 3 squared, can I make it equals L squared? Sort of, kind of. All right, with a calculator, because calculator is your best friend right now, we're going to get once again that this L squared is 169, so my slant height is 13. And plug and chug, surface area is 1/2 perimeter times slant height plus area of the base. Aren't you so glad I'm not making you memorize these formulas? You're welcome. Hope I'm your favorite now. 1/2 times perimeter is 48 times slant height is 13 plus area of the base 96 square root 3. So surface area equals 312 plus 96 square root 3. Hopefully you're getting used to the fact that I can't squish these things together if they don't both have the same square root. It's a nice little thing to learn. Volume equals 1/3 area of the base times height. Area of the base was 96 square root 3, and the height is 11. So my volume is 352 square root of 3. Done!